Hello and welcome to that Deacon on YouTube for the month of December. This month, I'd like to talk about Advent and the concept of community. Now, to talk about community, I have to go all the way back to last summer. If you remember, I created a video entitled 21st Century Serfdom, which all had to do with our problem living in an apartment unit. And we could no longer justify frequent rent increases with absolutely very little support from the owner of the building. So we gave up that apartment and we moved to a home not far from where we lived, which is owned by one of our parishioners who used that place as a winter home. So we put all of our stuff in storage, if you remember, and took what we needed to live, and we're living in that house. Well, the owners of the house come back around the early part of December. So about mid-October, we began the search for a place to live. And for the area we wanted to live, which was still closer to where we both work, the choices we had for the amount of money we could spend were absolutely awful. We called it dumping for dollars. The places were very small. The area was not very clean. It just did not feel right. And so we continued our search. It took us about almost a month and a half. But we finally were able to secure a place about 25 minutes by car from the church where I work and where my spouse works at a restaurant in La Cañada. A couple of days before Thanksgiving, we signed the lease and plopped down, ready for this, for a one-bedroom in Southern California. It cost us $3,500 to move into a new apartment. Now, we couldn't have done this without the gracious offering of that home we stayed in because we were given a reduced rent, which allowed us to sock away some money for the down payment and all of the fees that are levied upon people who would like to rent an apartment. What I would like to talk about for the month of December has to do with the notion of community, because a number of factors came into play as we were about to move from Montrose to Arcadia, California. Now, let me tell you what happened. We had everything set. We decided to move in on December 6th, mainly because we could not get in earlier because I had to attend, along with my spouse, who was a delegate, we had to attend our yearly diocesan convention. So we decided to hold off moving into the place, even though we had the apartment as of December 1st. So the week we were about to move, fires erupted, which at first I did not think would present a problem for us. It shouldn't have been a problem, but the winds and the fires started to blow the Great Thomas Fire, I believe, in two different directions, and that blew flames that sparked some fires up in Ojai and other areas. Well, it turned out that a number of people at my parish were evacuated. So we had about 2 or 3 parishioners who were evacuated from their homes, including my rector, who was told to evacuate as of December 5th. On the day of the move, we finally, after about a 3-hour wait, finally the movers were able to make their way without freeway to our storage bin, and we moved the stuff to Arcadia, where we threw all of the boxes and the furniture in the apartment building, because we had to get back to where we used to live and arrange to allow our rector then to stay in the home that we had been occupying since June. As I reflect back on this entire situation and the blur that was Advent for us, it occurred to me the importance of belonging to a community of faith. Now, it's a little bit different than a community where you live and maybe where you work. You know, people think that churches are a place where some person in robes or some authority figure stands at the pulpit and looks down on people and tells them they're awful, they're rotten, they're going to hell. But that's not the purpose of a community of faith, especially those denominations, sometimes called mainstream, that were really formed from a monastic tradition. Benedict started Western monasticism, and that whole idea of monasticism came from the stories of Jesus himself, who formed community. And within that community, people shared. Well, with the destruction of the Roman Empire and the breaking away of all social structures, Benedict found a way to bring people together under this monastic community whereby each person cared for the other. They lived communally, and they worked, and they prayed, and they opened their doors to travelers who were coming by who had no place to stay. So they shared what they had with others. That's exactly what happens in a community of faith. My spouse and I would not have been able to afford to move to a new apartment and actually have a roof over our heads if it were not for community and the kindness of 2 parishioners. The people who were evacuated would have had to stay at some community center, but because they belonged to a community of faith, families opened up their homes to allow others to stay with them, where they had a roof over their head, they had a meal, and they had a place to rest. The same thing happened when I allowed and I was able to arrange for my rector and her husband to stay at the home we had been staying since June. It was empty, and it allowed them to have a roof over their head and a place to stay until the fire danger was lifted. So what I'm trying to say is that belonging to a community of faith is something which I feel society needs to recover, because you will always have that safety system to pick you up when you fall, to take care of you when things go wrong, and also to laugh with you when things are joyful. In 2018, if you once belonged to a community of faith, or it was a denomination that wanted to hold you back from living a full life, consider joining a community of faith that will allow you to flourish and allow you to be the best person you and your family, if you have one, can possibly be. I'll see you next year, 2018, and thank you for watching this year in 2017. God bless, and see you later. Bye-bye.